So I'm going to briefly describe what I will have seen athletes go through on the road to recovery. Obvious part, you've got your physical injuries and your illness. If they're diagnosed or treated properly, you'll also have the mental struggles that start to take shape. Trying to reintegrate with your family when things are different is difficult. Overhearing your son tell their mom that they want the old daddy back. Trying to do daily activities is a struggle. Often starts with anxiety due to a stressful event. Has anybody here lived through a stressful event? I'm assuming everybody has. This is no different. Anxiety is often ignored out of pride. Eventually the symptoms get worse, and the mental struggles manifest into physical symptoms. There's sweaty palms, the weak legs, leg spasms, the difficulty getting a good deep breath. And as those anxiety pieces worsen, panic attacks and phobias begin to take over. Fears that people have never had rise to the surface. People are scared to leave their home. You're scared to fly on a plane, scared to do anything by yourself. And these phobias start to become larger than life, and you truly become immobilized in your own world. And at the same time this affecting you, it's obviously crushing your support network around you. At first, everybody wants to help you out. They enable everything. They'll bring you sandwiches and bed. They'll come over and do your dishes, so you don't have to lift a finger and do anything. And I think that's probably the worst technique you could use, because that structure, that routine is very important for recovery. But nonetheless, you continue to struggle because you can't reintegrate with your family. It starts to drive a wedge between you and everything you know. Depression sets in, and some of our warriors resort to suicide. While we're in this room today, you're going to lose 8 to 10 veterans. 22 a day is quite a bit. Since 9/11, if you do the math, anybody guess what 22 a day is since 9/11? Take a guess. Anybody? Just throw a number out.
4,000.
4,000, okay.
30,000.
30,000.
26.
26. That's 114,000 people have committed suicide since September 11th. Veterans, 114,000. That's bigger than Billings, Montana. That's more than the population of 20 of our nation's capital cities. I don't have to tell you all the facts. I think you understand them, but this is a messaging that you can use when you go out and talk to folks. This is a serious problem, very serious problem. So how do we break this chain? How do we use sports to help the situation? We give them independence and a healthy addiction, and I think that is the road to recovery. So how do we get their independence back? Exactly what you guys are doing here, but we've got to get our athletes out of their comfort zone, get them out of that immobilized state. We've got to get them participating in sports, engaging with others, getting them out of the house, and that starts to give them the confidence back. It's not easy. You heard a story today at lunch about the person that was their rugby friends, pulled them out of the house. I'm going to put this bar on your chest. Lift it, work out, or you can just sit there and let it crush you. That was the friends shoehorning them out of the house. And that is so important, that first initiative to get them going. But with some of the warrior games and camps that we do, we have to drag them out of not just their house, but their city and their state, and fly them across the country. We often make them do this by themselves. So they're going to struggle with airport security, transportation. Most of them will fall out of their chair at some point, and they go through this constantly, and it's not extremely easy. But it's intentional, because then they'll start to bond with their teammates, get their independence back, and hopefully see themselves as normal soon. But now we need something to fill their minds and their thoughts, and that's kind of where the addiction part comes in. So our goal is to get them hooked on a sport. And most military members, if you haven't figured out, we're very competitive people. So we want to spark that competition, that hunger for victory, and that's very important for our recovery. as they begin to push themselves, they're going to start to want to win. They're going to have a winning attitude, and then eventually we've given them that healthy addiction versus a destructive one. So many athletes that we've seen this process has gone through this, and it's not always successful. Not always successful. We've had our wounded warriors commit suicide successfully a couple times. And so this is tough. If you want to win in shooting, you need to learn to control your breathing. And here's how you're going to do it. Okay? And we're going to do some drills that you can add to any one of your sports, but it gives us a way to simultaneously give them the skills for a sport that is necessary, but we're kind of sneaking in a little skill for life here that can help them relax a little bit. So breathing and emotions are tightly coupled. This has been studied for many years. So think about it. If you're upset or you're going through a stressful time, what do people tell you?
Just breathe.
Calm down, take a breath, man. Chill out, relax. Just take a breath. Well, there's actually some truth to that. Take a deep breath. Breathe into a paper bag. You're hyperventilating, right? All these nice cliches actually are relevant because breathing and emotion are very, very tightly intertwined. I believe that the breathing can calm your autonomic response, which is your fight or flight triggers that you have, your mechanism there. And when stress is induced in our athletes, that can trigger very quickly. You go to the anxiety stage because things are going well in your strange place, then it goes to a panic attack, and that can actually be life-threatening for many people. So if we can use these breathing techniques early in the situation, we can break what I call the anxiety continuum early. This whole chain of events to a panic attack can accelerate very fast, but if you get it at the beginning, you can stop it and you can control it. Some folks will even have a checklist of what they say to themselves to calm them down as they're going through this ramp up because they know their body's about to go through a panic attack. And panic attack is not necessarily mental, it's physical. I mean, things happen to you, I described them. And your legs will start having spasms, you're not able to breathe, and you will eventually pass out. So breathing's not only good in these events-driven scenarios, but long-term, like I talked about for shooting and some calming techniques. It gets you into a meditative state that's also beneficial. And I've got my own theory a little bit about why breathing is important too from our wounded warrior standpoint. Having gone through this, if you have a stressful event, often that induces acid reflux, silent reflux. In your throat are these things called vocal flaps. They're not really for speaking, but they open when you breathe in, air in, good, right? Close when you breathe out, so it protects things from going into your airway. Pretty handy thing to have. However, when all those nerves and that tissue is damaged from the acid, they don't work. They're almost opposite. So when you try to breathe in, they're closing, constricting, and you only get a little pinhole of air in there. And then when you're breathing out, sometimes they open. So it's very difficult to breathe. Hence panic because you can't breathe, right? So it's very important. And then if you learn these breathing techniques that I teach you, you're able to control these flaps inside here, and you can feel them open and close if you do this breathing technique enough, so you can actually control them in a panic situation and get some air in there. All right, so if you can control the panic attacks, you can control the breathing, at some point you'll actually be able to get some sleep. And sleep is stage one, or step one in the recovery, because then your body and mind can heal. Sleep is very elusive for folks going through this. So anybody ready to give this a try? We're going to go through an exercise and do a little calming breathing. So we're going to do something that I call belly breathing. Start by putting your feet flat on the floor and interlace your fingers and just lay them flat over your stomach. I want you to close your eyes and just breathe. Pay attention to the rise and fall with each breath. I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it, and let it out. All right, let's do that again. So let's put it all together. This is, I think, the only slide other than the math slide that has words. And I made this while I was thinking about the conference of how we put this checklist together. At the top, you're going to see the different phases of what I call them. The first phase, on through the fifth phase, and you'll see all the signs that you can look for in your athletes, and then the different tools you can use, and a notional time frame from experience that I've seen this happen. You notice it goes out to 3 years. It can take about 3 years, but if we don't start this process, it could take decades or result in a worst case scenario. So stage one is what I call withdrawal. They're withdrawn from social activities. They don't want to leave the house. I talked about that. You'll see some of the characteristics that I described in Dylan between the being disconnected, the anger. And this is the beginning phase, trying to get them support, some counseling, some skills. Then they start testing the waters. Hey, I'm at these events. Everybody else looks like they're having fun. Maybe I should try something. Maybe they start to participate. Even the first smile is really a good thing to witness, by the way. And then they start getting engaged. Hopefully they become coachable, competitive. They start to have some initiative. And then you see them practice on their own. That's a really big key that they're interested. Okay, then they start performing, competing, doing well, having relationships, appreciation. What you guys do is a thankless endeavor. And when they start to appreciate all the stuff that you're doing to help them, it's okay, you're not in it for that. But when you see that, you can tell, once again, they're starting to think outside of their own bubble. And eventually, they start mentoring others. They have a little zest to them. They start coming off their medications. They show leadership. They start leading the team as a team mentor or team captain. And their family starts to recover. And that's kind of where I say that phase is graduation. Not that we don't need to maintain contact with them, but at that point, they're well on their way to having their independence back. In my 3 years to recover, if it wasn't for sports, fellow warriors, people like you, and I may not be here today telling you about these very techniques. So for me, those experiences are what guide my coaching and something that I'm extremely grateful for. Recovery is not easy, and believe me when I tell you it takes courage, it takes time, and it takes others like you to make this happen. Thank you, and happy breathing.